MJ, we are live. I'm just waiting for the screen to there it is. All right, everybody. Bilal here, Train My Trainer. We got Mike Jackson with us today. Mike, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell them where you're at, where you're training, where they can find you.
Hey, I'm Mike Jackson. I train at the Fit Factory in Canton. We're a private training facility, 4,500 square feet. Pretty much all the equipment you can ever use, functionally and strength wise, to get to your goals. Been in the industry for 21 years. Certified strength conditioning specialist, ACSM, exercise physiologist, all the NASM certifications, and nutrition coach as well. So 20 years experience. That's about it, man.
Well, that's beautiful, man. Obviously, I've known you for quite some time. Obviously, we have history, so I know. I've been to your place. Place is stacked, as I'd like to say.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great facility, bro. Especially to be a private facility. For people who want to train. If you want to train hard and privately, like we used to work at a commercial facility, obviously,
Yeah.
and I think I've had people tell me who are professionals, like it's hard for me to lay it out and go all out when someone from work is here, or I know some of my neighbors here. Like for some reason, people have an issue with pushing themselves to their fullest capabilities when that's the situation. But in a facility like this, it's private. There's no one here. People kind of leave it all out there, man. So they
Yeah, to
get
be able
better,
to.
and it's all about being focused on them and what they're doing. You
Yeah, it
know?
allows them to check out, and I think, but that's also a testament to where in the space you've been, where people have followed you, right? So that's
Right.
kind of what I want to lead into is like, your origins, your history. How'd you get started in the industry, right? What led to Mike Jackson stepping into the individual he is today and what he does day in day out for people?
Honestly, man, it's kind of weird. I was like 15 years old, and I started working out, and there was a gym in my neighborhood in Kalamazoo, and the owner like just seemed cool and seemed like he had a cool life, and he owned his gym. And at 15, I was like, this is what I'm gonna do with my life.
Wow.
And I guess I just never looked back, man. Even back then, when like personal training really wasn't a thing like it is now. I was just like, I went to college and I had to double major because nobody really believed in like the vision. So I double majored in exercise kinesiology and business. I had like an academic scholarship, and people were like, "Yeah, you'll never make money. People don't do that," which they really didn't do. Yeah, they
Yeah.
really didn't do it yet, right? They're like, that's for people in California.
Yeah.
Um, I
And
was like,
and
let's see what happens, right? And I just kept going, and I got
well,
my first. What'd you say?
I was just about to ask. I think you're leading into it. Tell us about like your first few years in business, like where you started and kind of what that looked like for you.
I started off at West Hills Athletic Club in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I think they probably just took a chance on me. You know, it was a couple years before I graduated from college. I had like the ACE certification, and they hired me, and I was one of their top three trainers within 6 to 9 months. And I guess I just never looked back after that.
Would you say, like in those first few years for you, did you find it natural for yourself, or did you have some mentorship in place based on maybe um, the leadership within the facility, or maybe individuals who've been within the facility as members for a long time that kind of been around that environment and kind of helped, just be that support?
You know what's wild, man, is like no matter where I've been, even when we were like in the commercial setting together and I was driving like pretty big numbers and I was killing it. I've always had mentors like in every facility. I mean, I have them like at the I have them at the Fit Factory now.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded by mentors who are older than me. Maybe they have the same amount of years in the industry, but they're older. Like they seem different things. So I guess I kind of always look at it like I've always had mentors around me, people helping me, be better, like bring my best. And that was the case in Kalamazoo. That's been the case of Lifetime Fitness when I was in Virginia. I just
Yeah.
always had mentors that have been really good to me.
Well,
So
I asked that because you obviously see the landscape of the industry is going to continue to grow, continue to expand. The health and fitness industry is not gonna stop, but we also see the caliber of talent coming in, right?
Right.
And what the maybe the energy or the enthusiasm that they bring to it they lack in other areas. And I think it's one, not having access to the right mentorship, and two, partially ego and not being able to put it aside, right, and say, hey, who can I learn from,
Right.
so I mean, speak to your lens, right, because I know you were in leadership roles for quite a while as well.
Yeah, I think with the new generation, like my last couple of years in leadership, like before COVID, like when I transitioned to kind of doing my own thing, I guess what frustrated with me, like with the younger generation, is like they would just look at a YouTube video and be like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And it's just like, well, what's the basis of that? You
Yeah.
know, they want a faster solution they can give to people, but you can't really quantify that, you know, from a science standpoint. And in this industry, like this industry is a mix of quantifying science and being able to sell it to people, which obviously you have a lot of experience with as well at the sales point, but you always talk about how it's a plan and a program, and you are always able to like communicate that to people as well.
Yeah.
It's progressive science, but it's also tied into sales, and one can't go on without the other. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, the ones, they're not, they're not mutually exclusive, right? You have to have one for the other. And I think that was one of the benefits of us working together, is we understood that and respected that, right? So, hey, whether it was a tee up or whatever that looked like, or knowing if I planted a seed in language, that you know how to take the language I gave and then do what you do, right? So that way the the potential client is receiving the same message, right? Even if it's coming from two different people. And it may be with your own verbiage, but the end message and end result was the same, right?
right, right,
So I think that's a big thing where, my plan with train my trainers, building that trainer community where we can establish that mentorship for those up and coming trainers coming into the industry, and be more than just getting a NASM certification or getting a kinesiology degree and then stepping into the field, but say, hey, what does it actually look like, right? What does the real life scenarios look like? What do real life conversations look like? And then coach them, right? Coach them off of that. And
I, I think a big thing with the industry right now, man, like you know what you're doing is so great because a lot of young professionals don't have the confidence to ask for a higher selling point or a higher price point, the price point they should be asking for. And what's happening to our industry is like we're cannibalizing ourselves right now. And like we're not selling our services at a premium rate. And that's actually like hurting the industry overall, you know, and it's taking away from the industry. And if we don't correct that, if people can't get confident in sales, we may not have an industry in 5 to 10 years with everything. You know, information's easy to get a hold of, but using it and utilizing it are two different things.
yeah,
And
I agree.
and the sales part is just such a big deal because of that. Like we need to keep our industry going. Everywhere else there's inflation, but in our industry, like the price point is coming down. And like the average training session is decreasing. And
Yeah,
it's everything else is increasing, and that's on the professionals.
absolutely, because that's the market they're setting.
Right. People are saying they're professional. So if you're a professional, like you need to sell your services at, at least the average premium rate.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's I read this a long time ago. Just even like once you start going down, you only can go down, right? I mean, like when you try to do the bidding war down versus setting the rate, setting the standards. But then going back to say, hey, what does that actual consultation process look like? Where that's where a lot of these so-called professionals are lacking, because they're just jumping right into like, hey, this is what my sessions cost. Okay, how many do you want to do? Type scenario where you mentioned the science and behind it, right, and be able to prescription program somebody to set them up for success. and people will buy into that. What is sales? It's the transfer of energy. So can we deliver that energy to the people and get them bought in, right?
Right.
Um, so this is where I hope we can give back, and we're going to give back by having conversations with individuals like yourself. And we're going to lead right into it. What's your process for bringing on a new client, right? I want to kind of plant some seeds out there with different individuals I talk to, say, hey, you don't have to give the whole game, right? But give some framework as far as what's Mike's process when he does a consultation with somebody. What does that look like? And what is one thing you do that trainers overlook, that you feel most trainers overlook?
A standard consultation right now, you sit down with a person and I want to basically get a snapshot of like where they want to be at some point, right? That snapshot is often they know what they want and we have to dream with them that we can get them there. So that's a big part of it. But in the times that we're living in, they think they're going to get there a lot faster than they actually are. So a lot of that consultation, especially, recently, with the amount of trainers, programs, access to even things like GLP-1s that people have,
Yeah,
results can come so much quicker, but long-term results are going to take time. And it's sitting someone down and helping them understand, like, this is going to take 6 to 12 months just to lay a foundation.
yeah,
And then after we lay a foundation, we can really get real with you about getting to this goal, you know? So, and there aren't a lot of people who, based off what they see through media, social media, talking to friends, there aren't a lot of people who buy into the concept of, I'm willing to give it more in 12 weeks, right? So you've got to find the right people,
yep,
have a great conversation, help them understand it's going to take a little longer and that it's going to be an investment financially of your time and of your overall effort and lifestyle change to get,
absolutely.
but the financial piece is a big piece because they're probably going to be training longer than they think when they initially walk through the door.
Isn't that the truth? And, that's so spot on, because one of the things I'd always tell people, hey, do you want me to get you started? Do you want me to take you to your goal? Right. And that's a real question that they have to answer themselves. And as soon as they say, hey, just get me started, right, that tells you kind of that they're that 1 foot in, 1 foot out type of situation. Now, you can still look at it and say, hey, I had this time frame, whatever the introductory program looks like, that we get them bought into to win
Right.
them over, right? Um, but it just tells you, like, okay, hey, they haven't fully committed to themselves yet, right? They're there, but they're not there. And it speaks to what you just said.
For sure. That's accurate. And, then there's a part of like, it's not always a bad thing. Where does it fit in your schedule? Like, could this person fill a certain time period?
Yeah,
Could they fill a certain time period as far as 4 to 8 weeks? But the thing about that is, once you put them in if you put them into a prime slot in your schedule and they leave after 4 to 8 weeks, you're gonna have to replace them.
yep,
And that's an hour where you're not making money at that point.
yeah,
Um, you and I we've seen trainers who just throw people on their schedules and like, and the person quits and like they're just sitting there, waiting for that time to be filled again.
yeah.
Like you really have to take time, like you're saying, to sit there and so what I'm looking for. Qualify them. Excuse me, qualify them as a potential client, and what they can, what they can afford, what they can do, and like what their mental, where they're mentally at, like you said, and getting to
Yeah.
where.
To that, Mike, how do you handle your, the price objections, when they do come, or just avoid them altogether, right? And I ask that because, for me, I was always embracing them when people, give the price objections, because now it's like, okay, hey, I have to change the frame of mind for them and how they're seeing money, in the sense of not getting something tangible, right? And then as you mentioned too, from speed to process, speed to execution, right? So like how fast they're going to get the results and what does that look like, right? So what does that look like in your consults?
Well, so when they usually come in to meet with me, like this isn't like the commercial setting, like the private setting, you're probably using some type of lead generation app and they know the idea of like what it's going to cost per session.
Got you.
So like a lot of people, honestly, like I don't have to deal with that most times because a lot of people just take like the lowest bid. And that's what I was saying about the industry. Like we've really got to like start to focus on getting to a certain area where like someone's not offering a $40 personal training session, and then they see someone double or triple that price.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do that. So honestly, like especially in the last couple of years, most people have known the price.
Okay.
Um, the objection comes from the timeline, right? And the fact that they're not going to be there to goal in 3 months, and you have to tell them the truth.
Yeah.
If you don't tell them the truth, you're going to lose them anyway. So you can have 3 months of business, or you can be upfront and tell them, like of course they're going to have an objection, but you and I know if someone pays for something for 3 months, they can probably find it in their budget to keep doing it.
Yeah. Especially if they're paying all up front.
But there's a different kind of sticker shock in this setting. It's not like the commercial setting, you know. Like people are doing a little more research before they come and sit down and talk to you. You're not just in the commercial setting like it's this much per session, this much per month. And then dealing with their sticker shock at that moment, it's more a sticker shock of like, hey, like this is going to take 6, 12, 18 months when we look at this like this, you know. But like I said, like if someone pays for something for 3 months, they can usually keep paying for it.
Yeah. Keep that going.
Yeah.
Mike, what would you say is the biggest shift that helped you start making consistent money? And I asked that question because the time we've been together and in the big box, my time in the small box, and your time even in leadership, when you look back at trainers that come in and how they approached consults, how they approached uh, generating leads or getting referrals, or whatever it was, and typically the ones that were successful had their niche or strong suit in something, right?
Yeah.
uh, so what have you seen that were like for yourself that kind of flipped the switch for you?
Uh, I can
Might have
answer.
been
Let
your
me,
presence.
let me start to answer it like this. Like when we were in the big box together, um, I would just get people out there talking to people initially. And this is why what you're offering is so cool. I would get people just to go talk to people and talk about what they did because they weren't comfortable with the consultation, even with the amount of training that they had, right?
Yeah.
And so, and you got endless bodies to talk to,
Yep.
which is great, And for some people, like just getting out there and talking to them and then giving some type of consultation works better than actual straight up consultation. But as we know, that can't always be the case.
Yeah.
So with me, what I saw, the people we brought in, it was generally like within their first 3 or 4 months, they're going to make a lot of mistakes with their consultation.
Yep.
But the biggest long-term mistake was the last 10 minutes and not being able to bite down and say, like, this is going to be the price. Right? We saw people who just could never get over that.
Getting
And
that uncomfortable point.
the closing aspect, right?
Yep.
So basically, it's like, who's going to be able to do that and who's not? And, I definitely saw in the first 3 or 4 months, that's something that could drag on for 3 or 4 years in some people. You
Eh,
know,
it's very accurate.
that can drag on. I mean, there's people that you've helped that we both know who they just did not get it. And then it's like, well, now this person kind of gave you different verbiage, like you understand it
Yeah.
and you're going to have more success. But, and some people never do, right?
Yep.
And that's, you know, because I've seen some people that were passionate about the industry and they weren't bad trainers per se, but this is a big part of your professionalism, like what you do, and like how you make a living.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like I wake up every day, I get to go do what I want. You know,
Period.
that's a blessing, right? I,
Period.
I always laugh when I see Kevin Durant on TV, kind of like or on the internet trolling people because he's like, I get to wake up every day and do what I want. I get up and go to work, right?
Yeah.
It's such, it really is such a small sacrifice to teach yourself to have these skills so that you're able to say that,
Yeah.
right? Like to get that hump so you can say that is it's really not that hard. You just need someone to help you understand how to bite down, push forward, and say what you need to say.
Mike, when you said that, I had an instant flashback about a time I had a trainer in the facility with me. And like you said, could deliver sessions, but she kept striking out consult after consult after consult. I mean, could not convert a thing.
Right.
And I remember asking her, and I mean, it's stuck with me to this day. I said, "Hey," I said, like, what's the issue? She's like, "Oh, I have a hard time asking people for money when they're already paying so much for their membership."
Right.
And I said, "So do you not see the value in what you do? It's like, are you afraid to ask for the money?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm afraid to ask for the money." And I looked at her and I said, "You should put in your notice right now."
Yeah.
And her direct manager looked at me and he goes, "Hey," I said, "Hey, she got to go."
Yeah.
And it's not to say, hey, she has no place in the industry, right? But understand where you are, right? I mean, there's a difference of trainers coming into the space and they just want to help athletes and work at a college and or go be a trainer at some high school or whatever that may be, right? And get paid their salary through the school and call it a day,
Or corporate business. Yeah.
or that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But like you said, when you get to wake up and kind of go do what you want, service people, right, and enjoy that blessing of being able to quantify your skill set, okay,
Right.
you got to be willing to have some different conversations.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing in the exit interview, I just told her, I said, hey, I said, you need to get some mentorship in the future and whatever you decide you want to do to make you 100% confident in what you're going to do moving forward, because people can feel the intention, people can feel the energy, and if someone's seeing you 2 or 3 times a week, it's like you're dating the person. Like they want to enjoy that time, right?
Oh, for sure. Like, you know, a lot of people don't see their spouses for 2 or 3 hours a week.
Yeah.
Like you're spending a similar amount of time that people spend with like the person they're spending their life with. You know, an hour of time a day is a lot. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
when you go home at the end of the day, it's probably how long you see someone, or you probably see them for a few more hours, but
Uh,
it's pretty.
yeah, it's still a big chunk,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, depending on who you are, it's probably what 1 to 3 hours a night. Like
Yeah.
1 to 3. I mean, two, 3, 4, even sometimes 5 hours a week. We got someone that's 6 hours a week. 6 hours a week. We've been training together 14 years. Like we still haven't killed each other. Like like that's what you call a long term relationship, man.
Yeah, till weights do us part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike, for yourself, what would you tell your younger self, right? Obviously, you are a veteran in the industry. You've been respected in every space you've been in. Um, I say, what would you tell your younger self? Because obviously you've learned a lot over the years and just along your journey, if you were to go, go back and reposition certain things, what does younger Mike take away from older Mike?
I mean, what I'll tell you is, I'll tell you a story. I don't even think you know this. Some people do. Like I said, when I got into the industry at 21, and I was working at West Hills Athletic Club, I quickly became like one of their top trainers. I just flew off. I just like a rocket, man. And I really thought like I was like, geez, like this is crazy, And I graduated college. I was there for another year or two, and I don't even think you know the story. I followed a friend to go work at Lifetime Troy.
Mm.
I'm top trainer at this facility at this point, and I've been top trainer for a while. And one of my mentors was like, "Hey, I don't know if you're ready for that." And you know me, I'm stubborn. I was like, "All right, we'll see."
Yeah.
Lifetime Troy, and the stories that we're going back and forth about, I was someone who wasn't ready coming from the west side of the state of Michigan, going to the east side, where pricing is totally different. I wasn't comfortable and ready to have those conversations at
Mm.
25 years old. You know, I
Wow.
wasn't in place yet. So I was at Lifetime Troy for exactly 365 days. I
Wow.
quit. I was just a mid-tier trainer, bro. I was a 6 to 8K trainer, which people hear after knowing me, they're like, no way. I was a 6 to 8K trainer at Lifetime Troy, which is
Yeah.
very,
That's,
very average, as we know.
yeah.
And that's when I moved down to Virginia. And I did like all kind of fitness jobs in Virginia, just trying to figure out, I got into tactical, the Navy, got into some strength and conditioning. I was a manager for the city of Norfolk at one point.
Wow.
And then I was in a situation where I had to like come back home. And mainly because like the cost of living in Norfolk, Virginia Beach was so high for what, I was
Yeah.
making. So I was like, yo, I'm gonna come back home. And I had gotten a job. The job fell through, bro.
Mm.
It was like a corporate fitness job paying like 70 G's a year in 2011. I was
Wow.
like, awesome. And I was once again running away from my fear, right? I didn't want to sell. Job falls through when I get back. I have no job, and there was only one place to go. And that was back to Lifetime Fitness.
Wow.
So I went to Commerce, and I remember walking in. Our area director like walked in at the same time I did. Not our area director, our personal training area director at the time, and he was my manager at Troy. He was like, "How's this gonna go?" I was like, "If this doesn't go the way I need it to go, like I'm getting out." And he was like, "Okay." He was like, "I'm willing to work with that."
Yeah.
And that's when I went through new hire training again. And I had great mentors at Lifetime Commerce who, like they told me what I needed to do. Conversations even you and I have had, and I embraced selling, and I broke the Black Friday record after 5 months of being there for like I think at the time it was for the company. I did like
Surprise.
$24,000 on Black Friday within my first 5 months at Commerce.
Big cheese. Big cheese.
Yeah, wild, right? That's when Black Friday was like a big deal.
Yeah.
Like 3 months later, I was a manager, and like, I just never looked back. So, but at that point, I was really involved in like the new hire process, which you always saw like when we were together,
Yeah.
and getting people to understand like, yo, you gotta embrace this. Like you have to do this, and like getting them off and rolling in their first 3 months. Like I know you're gonna make some mistakes, but you've got to embrace this aspect of the job. So that was my, like a lot of people don't know that story. Like
Mm-mm. I
I
didn't
could
know that one.
I could have been out in the industry if I didn't embrace everything. But at some point I did, and at 28, you know, I had 3 years away. And at 28, it's like, you just gotta do this, man. Like, it is what it is. Like, you gotta look them in their eye. You have to ask for what the program costs, show them what you can do, and like, you have to get clients. You know,
Period.
so yeah.
That's a journey, and this is I mean, that's a testament to say, hey, if you believe in what you're doing and what you're going to do, it's okay to ask for help. We're all students and teachers at different times, right? So this is why I think the message is, and you know, I've had people say, hey, you know, you're only interviewing people who've been in the industry for quite some time, and I said, yeah, because I want to show what is possible, right? Whether it's from a hybrid, whether it's online, whether it's in person, because the ones coming in, I mean, we all know what it was like to be 21, 22, 23, 24, 20.
Right.
You feel like you're untouchable, right? You feel like, okay, once you start getting a little rhythm of something, I mean, I know how I felt at that age,
Right.
and my metrics look that way too. But, you know, if I were to, hey, have a message my younger self, what I know now, and go back and do it again, oh, come on. But that's the beauty of it, right?
For sure. For sure.
Mike, what right now, what are you focused on? Like, what are you, you know, working on evolving? And what advice would you give trainers trying to build a business?
I mean, as far as the business,
Yeah, I say, hey, you know, a little bit, maybe a little bit personal for Mike, a little business, and then, you know, but definitely the ending as far as trainers building their business, you know, what's a piece of advice you'd give? And sometimes it could be a simple piece and that maybe some people overlook. Sometimes it could be a little more in depth.
well, that's a good question. First,
I asked that because I know you're always, you know, you're always adding to the plate, right? You're always adding to your selections of what you bring to the table.
yeah, man. I'll talk about it. It's kind of funny in a way. I've never been one about niches, you know, or having a niche. I've worked a lot with like high school kids, high school athletes the last 5 years.
Yeah.
COVID. And in the last couple of years, I've started working with like younger kids, like elementary school. um, I'm bringing this up to prove a point that you're trying to help people understand. I probably got 6 to 8 hours a week with kids who are under 10 years old.
Yeah.
You know, our industry,
You're giving back, man.
yeah. I went to like 2 graduations yesterday, so that's pretty.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it's a good feeling to see your kids graduate and move on. But my thing is like that's a really easy group of people to engage because their parents will pay for them to be successful.
Oh, absolutely.
But that crosses over to the fact that if you get someone to understand how you can help them, they'll invest in it for themselves as well.
2 for 1, 3 for 1, 4 for 1. Here we go.
Right. You know, like that truly shows even me to a higher degree. Like these people will come out of their pockets so quickly for their kids. Like they have the money to do it. We just
Yeah.
look for easier, cheaper solution for ourselves often.
Oh yeah.
And so there's always money out there. You know, my client base is extremely diverse. It always has been. It's diversifying more at this point with having that group. But what am I looking to say here?
No, I think that's
Yeah, it's just ever evolving.
and that's, you know, and I think that, but you know, you're receptive to that, right? Uh, you see a lot of trainers in the industry, and in my last interview with AC with Albert, you know, he talked about it, right? Not just being a trainer, but becoming a brand. And I, you know, yeah, I know you've done that in your time, right? Because,
Oh, for sure.
Team MJ is a real thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
like Team MJ was at the gas station on Friday where a dude came up and just, hey, like I want to get results.
Period.
And it's
And
like this is a dude talking while we're pumping gas.
yeah, and you just talked about the segment of the kids, right?
Right.
And that's right. For as long as I known you, you'd have a few here and there, but that's an industry in itself because parents are spending money on swim lessons, all
Yeah.
different, gymnastics, club soccer, AAU
Yeah.
basketball, right?
Like
Hockey,
kid fitness.
everything.
Yeah. It's huge
Yeah,
because this isn't the 1990s. Like kids don't play outside.
yeah,
And like and kids have to be told what to do. Like it's not like 30 years ago and we just like made up our own fun.
this ain't
Like,
TikTok.
they have to be told what to
Yeah,
do. It's like they're gonna have coaches for everything now. Like why not you? Like why not
yeah.
you?
Why not?
I always say like why not me? You
Yeah,
know, like why not you? Like why not try?
yeah. Reinforce that self belief because it's true, right? And
Oh,
and you deliver. You
right.
deliver.
Well, it's why not you? Like why not try? Like why isn't it worth it? Why isn't it worth it? To become a better salesperson.
A part
Right.
of the growth, and you don't need miracle grow, right? You just need a little time with yourself.
Oh, for sure.
Mike, I've been waiting to ask you this question, right? Because I know you love hot takes.
All right.
What's one belief in the fitness business that you don't agree with, right? And I know you're outspoken when you see things, and you see trainers doing things that don't serve the industry positively, um, and don't serve the clients positively,
Yeah.
and false information being put out there. So I know there's something out, that's it's always in the back of your mind.
Man, like, ooh, online training is a sham. Like, online training is to me is like the biggest hustle, and consumers don't get results doing it. Trainers are sending people templates. Uh, it, I've never been a big fan of it in the industry,
Yeah,
and I think it's just a way for an age group of people who don't want to work to not have to work. And I guess if anything, I would say to those people, you are missing out on a beautiful part of this job. As far as human interaction and like helping someone, like pushing someone to get there. You
yeah,
can't somebody like a workout plan. Like back in the day, you and I used to read muscle magazines. Like it's no different than that.
yeah,
It gives you great ideas, right?
absolutely.
But you and the homies like would bring that workout to life, right? Like me and a partner, me and a friend would look at that workout together. Like we brought it to life. Like it was
Absolutely.
simple, and that's what trainers have to realize. Like you bring it to life, you know. Like you are the catalyst. So like take pride in that and be that.
What's what's the Ashton Hall? You're fired.
The what? Oh,
Ashton Hall, because he does all the
yeah,
online stuff. Yeah.
for sure.
Well, Mike, before we go, is there any final words you want to give the people?
No, man, I just think what you're doing is awesome. I think,
I
like I said,
appreciate that.
I'm someone who has always had mentors. I believe heavily in mentorship. You know, I've been blessed to have great mentors, and if you're not open to that, you're probably not going to have a high level of success. And this is a program that offers you mentorship and something that is an aspect of this business that you have to embrace to be successful.
Hey, that's why TMT was launched, and we're gonna keep delivering. And I want the doors to be open to where, for those that are watching, whether you come out to reach out to TMT directly or MJ and he'll be tagged in the videos, it doesn't matter. Find someone for yourself, elevate the business, because we want to help you.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Mike, I appreciate your time as always. I can't wait to chop this up and throw it out there, and then we're gonna keep spreading the love.
All right, man. I appreciate the time. I'll talk to you soon, man.
See you, brother.
Thanks, bro.